Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got a huge Cincinnati Bengals roster decision is about to be made. Let's check this out.
I think that they'll get the work in at the necessary time, and please,
The Bengals
we have
are
a high
in
turnout for
a very interesting spot right now, having to pay T. Higgins and Chase pretty soon.
Making sure we're in communication, making sure we know where everybody's at on the process, and
I don't even think T. Higgins is even showing up at minicamp either.
Like quite a while ago now, but as recently as February 2022, the Cincinnati Bengals made an appearance in a Super Bowl. It was their first trip to the big game since 1989, and it was their third time reaching the mark in the history of their franchise. Since their 23-20 loss to Sean McVay's Rams, the Bengals have come to be known far and wide for having one of the most highly touted passing attacks in the NFL. Not only have they had one of the best quarterbacks in the game in Joe Burrow to lead their attack, but they also had a roster that has been absolutely flooded with talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Actually, at the moment, it still is, even when you consider the offseason losses of Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd. But again, that is only at the moment, because even though they still have the 9th most available cap space in the league with $28.3 million, that number will only go so far, as seeing they're at a time in their franchise when they have other needs on top of having one of the best yet unpaid 1-2 receiving punches in the league. But before we get to the content, we're going to be giving away copies of College Football 2025. All you have to do to be entered is follow me on Twitter and follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be giving away to my followers on both. Now that we got all that out of the way, break. PrizePicks is giving a final closer low price, and then Derek Lively, we're going to pick $23 to the flight 1212. What's going on, everybody? The Cincinnati Bengals have one of the best wide receiver tandems in the NFL. T. Higgins and Jamarrchase are up there with wide receiver cores like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith of the Eagles, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle of the Dolphins, and more recently Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams. But with Justin Jefferson having just signed a contract that makes him the highest non-paid quarterback in the history of the league, things have changed for wide receivers, as we mentioned in our previous video. The resetting of the receiver market could now potentially contribute to a downward spiral that could.
I feel like them resetting the wide receiver market is only gonna get, you know what I'm saying, get bigger and more expensive as they keep raising the salary cap each and every year, bro.
Who recently have had not only one wrench but two wrenches thrown into their organization plans by the way of recent OTA holdouts of both Jamarrchase and T. Higgins. And according to this NFL legend that always has incredible takes, this is a huge deal and could ruin the Bengals.
I normally would say this.
As a Ravens fan, that's music to my ears, bro.
I'm thinking about it, like, hold on. Joe Burrow's been hurt. He's just finally cleared with no restrictions to do all the OTAs, reps, and all that, and practice and et cetera. And then both, not one, but both is out trying to get paid? Yeah, that's a problem, because now, so you throwing to all new dudes, it sounds like. Hell yeah, it's a big deal.
Yes, this puts the Cincinnati Bengals into a potentially serious bind. And though some of you may think this is all normal and fine and is a situation that will resolve itself, really, it isn't. Because if you think about it, it's typically one player that holds out for a team.
Yeah, not two of your best players, especially on offense,
two players that play the same position on a football team hold out for better contracts. And what makes matters even worse is that if you look around the league at some of the other contracts that star receivers are getting, besides Justin Jefferson alone, it's clear that this is not headed down the right path. Just for some perspective, as it stands as of recently, Tyreek Hill is on a 4-year, $120 million contract, which is understandable given his yearly output, but recently his agent Drew Rosenhaus said that is subject to change.
It's safe
to,
you know, acknowledge
he's trying to get paid bigger money as well.
Chris Greer and Brandon Shore, the Dolphins.
Bro, shit is getting crazier, and I'm here for it, bro. I love it.
Communication with them,
I love it, man.
And I've shared with them how Tyreek feels, and I'll also reiterate that Tyreek has said that he would love to finish his career here with the Dolphins. So without getting into any more specifics,
no state income tax is the main reason.
But with Nico Collins now commanding $25 million a year, DK Metcalf commanding $24 million a year, and even Calvin Ridley getting $23 million a year from the Titans, which at the time some people were saying is an overpay, but now it's looking like a pretty solid contract, it's clear as day that the Bengals are going to have to shell out some serious cash to not one, but both of their wide receivers if they're going to keep them happy and receiving passes from their all-pro quarterback. Now, there's been a theme to trying to extend your star players in the NFL. Usually, the faster you get this contract done, the more you end up saving in the long run. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and I hate the fact that my favorite team literally does the exact opposite of this. To this day, CD Lamb still hasn't been signed to a contract extension. We have to make a video on that because it could mean the end of Dak Prescott, but the Philadelphia Eagles have been masters of this. I hate to admit it because I hate the freaking Eagles. They extended Jalen Hurts 1 year before he had to be extended. They extended Devontae Smith this past offseason since they understood that there were a series of wide receiver contracts that were about to come. They extended AJ Brown the day after Amon-Ra St. Brown got extended. Currently, Jamar Chase is bringing in just $8 million per year on a rookie scale contract that will expire in 2026. T. Higgins, on the other hand, wasn't a first round pick, so you don't have a 5th year option on T. Higgins, and he was drafted a year before Jamar Chase, so he needs a new contract if he wants to be suiting up for the Bengals in 2024. In the case of the Bengals, I guess you could say you kind of have an advantage if you extend Jamar Chase right now, but that's if you're expecting CD Lamb to get paid even more than Justin Jefferson. If you really wanted to succeed, you would have paid Jamar Chase before Justin Jefferson got his contract extension, even though Jamar Chase was drafted a year later than Justin Jefferson was. So currently, T. Higgins will come in at a franchise tag cost of $21.8 million if the two sides can't come to a long-term agreement. Yet if the organization wants to keep him around long-term, which is the whole point of this holdout, then they need to find another solution, and quick. This is huge for the Bengals, especially when you consider that both players are projected to bring in over $100 million on long-term contracts. If this prediction is right or even close to it, Jamar Chase will command almost top dollar on a market that has just reached an all-time high. It's likely that he'll bring in a deal very similar, if not identical, to Justin Jefferson's, with T. Higgins also being projected to be paid $27 million a year annually over 4 years. And originally, I would say the odds that the Bengals bring back both T. Higgins and Jamar Chase is very unlikely, but it seems like that trend has been broken, with the Eagles extending both of their wide receivers, the Dolphins having Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill under long-term contracts as well, and now it seems like the Bengals are going to do the same thing. So you might be thinking, okay, Mike, that's great. The Bengals get to keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and they're going to invest a lot of money in receiving. What's the problem? Well, this comes with a caveat, and this is why it's so problematic to keep two wide receivers in the NFL. The Bengals gave up the second most yards per game to opposing offense in 2023 with 374.6 yards per game, and are now in danger of losing their most productive player on their defense. To this, you may say that
Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, he requested a trade, didn't he?
Back end at the safety position, and yeah, sure, maybe it'll be a little better, but with so much money needing to be saved for these two receivers while also having some other obvious holes on the roster, it becomes even more apparent that if the Bengals do sign both receivers long term, then it is their firm belief that Burrow can lead them to the promised land.
I really think it is literally impossible for them to pay both of those guys. I really do. With them also paying Burrow as well, somebody's going to be the odd man out, and that's going to have to be T. Higgins, because you know the chemistry that Burrow has with Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is definitely going to have to be gone then, bro, because it's going to be impossible for them to pay both of them. And Trey Hendrickson, he wants to get, a new contract and shit, so he requested a trade a few months ago. And we haven't really heard much about that, but he's still probably gonna want to trade and shit like that. But I feel like the route they should go with this is trading T. Higgins, bro, because it is gonna literally be impossible for them to pay both of them huge money, like $30+ million a year for both of those guys, bro. It's gonna be impossible
as soon as this year. If not, then it just is what it is, and they're gonna have to let one of their 2-star receivers go. In all likelihood, that person's gonna be T. Higgins. They're gonna have to see if Joe Burrow is good enough without such a proven duo to give them another chance at hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. My guess is Joe Burrow's remarkable, except for the first season of the NFL season where he inevitably sucks. Given how competitive the AFC is, the odds of Joe Burrow making it back to the Super Bowl with a weakened team isn't looking so great. And also, just as a reminder for anybody that somehow forgot, the Bengals are in the freaking AFC North, a division that had 3 10-win teams just last season, and seems to somehow be getting even better, especially if Russell Wilson can return to form, which is a pretty big if. If you want to continue getting really freaky about the receiver market, look no further than the numbers that Jalen Waddle has been putting up, en route to also receiving a new 3-year $84.75 million contract. Yeah, with all of this, it begins to paint a picture that the Bengals will likely need to move on from T. Higgins in the long term if he is going to attempt to earn what his previous projection was. And don't get me wrong,
It would be smart to trade him so they can get some value back from him, because in reality, bro, he's worth a first round pick. Let's keep it a buck, bro. Like, what the improvement that he has made from his rookie year to now is tremendous. So I feel like they should just trade him instead of just letting him walk in free agency and not getting nothing back for him.
But also make no mistake about it, I don't necessarily know how I feel about T. Higgins potentially getting top 4 wide receiver money in this inflated market. And that's just the reality of it. Though I digress, because a lot of this situation will boil down to the decisions of the 2 receivers and their agents. What will be their motivating factors? Will they decide to make less money for a mere chance of hoping Joe Burrow stays healthy and they can return to the playoffs and try to win another AFC title in Cincinnati? History indicates that no player is usually willing to take less money to help out their team, unless if you're Tom Brady. Or will they elect to look out for one another and part ways so that they can each individually chase a bigger bag? I know what I would do. I also know what the 2012 NFL leader in touchdown receptions, James Jones, would do, because he also doesn't seem to think that it's possible that they have the resources to bring back both.
You know what, man? I'm gonna need a little bit more than that. I don't know how you get both of them done. One of them is going to be lining up at the Z unhappy. One of them is going to be lining up at the X unhappy.
What's pretty wild about this whole thing to me is, yeah, he might be putting on a show for the media, but for some reason, Bengals head coach Zach Taylor seems to be downplaying the questions here from these.
I mean, what do you expect him to do? What do you expect him to say, bro? Like, oh, I'm worried we're not going to be able to bring back both of them. What should I do? Like, no, bro. What the fuck you expect him to say? You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, he's got to keep it calm and under wraps, my nigga. Like, what do they expect this nigga to say, bro?
Time and please, you know, we have a high turnout for voluntary workouts. I told the guys, I understand it's voluntary. I appreciate them showing up. The guys that don't are still working hard elsewhere, and they'll be back at the right times. And so, and the beauty is we know those guys, we know what they're about, and that they'll be ready and focused when it's time to come back. We touch base. I don't call those guys every day. I'm not trying to wear them out. But again, they do an excellent job when I reach out, quickly getting back to me, making sure we're in communication, making sure we know where everybody's at on the process, and everything has been really positive with all those guys that aren't here.
I think Zach Taylor is very aware that the Bengals are in a very serious situation due to their also having other players on the team that they're likely going to have to prioritize over T. Higgins, such as one of the most underrated pass rushers in the league in Trey Hendrickson, who's responsible for 13 sacks in 3 out of the last 4 seasons for the Cincinnati Bengals, as well as being responsible for breaking his own Bengals record for sacks in a season with last year's 17.5. With the state of the Bengals defense having already been somewhat questionable as stated before, Hendrickson's agent has made public that his client desires a trade unless he's given a new contract before the start of the upcoming season, which means that T. Higgins' franchise tag could prove quite costly. I mean, tell me, which player is more important to the Bengals' success this year?
Bro, I'm just so happy right now that this is happening to the Bengals, bro. I am, because all their fans always talking shit and all this, bro. Now, how does it feel now, bro? How does it feel now, Bengals fans? Talking all that shit and now y'all team crumbling. Come on now.
Caliber or a player of T. Higgins'
I love it.
A player that can get you
I love all this drama.
Sacks, or a player that got you just 656 yards last year. On top of that, can't you just reset?
How you gonna talk a shit? Your team ain't even won a Super Bowl yet, nigga.
In the first round of next year's NFL draft and not have to pay him as much money.
I don't care about Joe Burrow making it to a Super Bowl. Did he win it? Did he win it? No. Okay then.
Decision to be made here upon further
I ain't trying to hear none of that shit. It don't mean, like, going to a Super Bowl don't mean nothing unless you win it, bro. Let's keep it a buck.
Higgins than they are with Hendrickson. Also, you should factor in that the Bengals probably sniffed this problem a while ago when they added another wide receiver in this year's draft, Jermaine Burton from Alabama in the 3rd round of this year's draft. The kid put up 15 touchdowns in his final 2 seasons in college and nearly 1,500 yards. Yeah, the further we get into this little offseason drama, the more it seems that T. Higgins is maybe overplaying his hand a little bit. Then again, maybe it's a moment in time for
you want to get paid a bag, bro.
Do the smart thing and
we're trying to be set for life.
Cincinnati or elsewhere. The problem is T. Higgins' best opportunity to get traded is already gone. NFL draft passed by a while ago. The free agency period is over. No team was willing to pay the Bengals price for T. Higgins. However, with all of this debate in the air surrounding the Bengals, one thing is certain. If they place the franchise tag this year on Higgins, it's clear that they will be going into the season with very high hopes of winning their first Super Bowl in team history, even if it does potentially cost them a chunk of their future. But let me know in the comment section down below, how should the Cincinnati Bengals handle this situation? situation. Aside from that,
like I said earlier, bro,
I'm dropping
trade T. Higgins.
until our next upload.
I feel like that's the only way to really get out of this mess, bro. Trade T. Higgins and re-sign Jamarrchase. But I want to know what you guys think. Y'all let me know down in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Turn on post notification and notify whenever I drop another banger video. We're on the road to 200 subs. So I'm gonna get there for more banger NFL content like this. Without further ado, I'm out. Gang.